program brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's hour number 2. Paul Harrell here, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building the Liberty Machine, and this is one of the days where it's tough. Joining me now, we got the state director from Americans for Prosperity, Arkansas, Mr. David Ray, back with us. David.
Paul, good to be here. There was at least one good thing that happened today. The House Education Committee advanced the Education Savings Account bill, the school choice bill, by Representative Dotson. It made it out of committee, so that will be voted on by the full House.
I know they've been pushing that, and that is a good step in the right direction. I was with you today in the committee. I think you did an excellent job speaking against this bill. But to recap, I mean, they went ahead on a very flimsy voice vote, and they went ahead and passed it. You know.
Yeah, the $200 million a year gas tax sailed out of the Transportation Committee today. That was unfortunate to see, but we're not giving up, Paul. This is just the first step. This is the first salvo in this fight, and it's still got 3 more hurdles to clear. It's got to clear the full House, it's got to clear the Senate committee, and it's got to clear the full Senate, and we're going to fight it every step of the way.
What were some of the mistruths, I should say, that you heard people say in support of a 6.5% wholesale sales tax on gasoline?
Well, how much time you got? I would say right off the bat, the first one that caught my eye, and I really tried to rebut this in my testimony, I was limited in how much time I had to respond because the chairman of the committee, after an hour and a half of debate in favor of the gas tax hike, he admonished me to keep my remarks very brief. So I tried to respect his wishes. But the first thing they said that was just really outlandish was that this was only going to cost $70 a year. And I just ran through the numbers that we shared yesterday on the air. Fact of the matter is, for the average Arkansas household, this tax hike is going to cost over $200 a year. And that's going to hurt the poor and the working class the most. Now, we passed a $50 million income tax cut earlier this session, and it was targeted at low-income Arkansans, the 600,000 citizens of this state who make less than $21,000 a year. And if you run the numbers, it's very simple. This gas tax hike is going to completely wipe out any savings that they would experience from the income tax cut.
Yeah. One of the people that spoke in favor of this, a guy by the name of Bill Stovall, and he actually argued that just because we raise taxes on the wholesale price of gasoline 6.5% wholesale doesn't necessarily mean that the gas gas stations are going to raise taxes accordingly, because they might not do it. And I was just like, what kind of economic universe is he?
Paul, I'm going to quote our U.S. Senator Tom Cotton and what he said last week about the border adjustment tax. He said, quote, "Some ideas are so dumb only an academic could believe them." And that is exactly, that's the only way you can really address the comments made by that gentleman in the committee today.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that a 6.5% tax hike is not going to get passed along to consumers, that kind of thinking lacks a basic grasp of economics. It really does.
Yeah, well, and apparently so do a majority of the members that sit on that committee, if they did in fact buy that load of hogwash. It just seemed like there were mistruths all around. We had highway people there that were advocating, saying that they need this very much, and yet you made an interesting point, a good point, that, hey, 34 other states use general revenue to fund this stuff. Why can't Arkansas?
Yeah, all right, so 10,000-foot picture, what folks need to understand is there's 2 big buckets of money that the state has. Bucket number 1 is general revenue. That is the sales tax you pay, that's the income tax you pay, and other assortment of things. Then there's the motor fuels fund, and that is the gas tax money that you pay when you fill up at the tank, at the pump.
40-something cents a gallon.
It's 40 cents a gallon, yeah. 20.5 cents of that goes to the state, and 18.5 cents goes to the feds for the Federal Highway Trust Fund. And so basically what 34 states do is that 34 states have realized that, hey, there's really not enough money in the motor funds pot. Let's just dip a little bit of it out of general revenue and ship it over to roads, because we recognize that roads are a core function of government. And for some reason, in Arkansas, there is a
Does our gas tax, I might have misspoke last hour, does our gas tax go to roads?
most of it does.
Okay, so it does.
Now, yes, it does.
Okay,
it does.
well, I got to make
Now,
a correction. Last hour I said that it didn't, but anyway.
Well, you were partially correct. There's $32.7 million a year of our gas tax money that goes to fund non-highway expenditures, things like the Constitutional Officers Fund.
Okay, see,
fiscal
that's
agencies.
a problem for me. All right,
That's
all
a
right.
problem
I
because
was confused.
you
but I
add
was
that money up, that's $320 million over a decade that could be going to our roads that's instead being siphoned off to other things. It's one of the recommendations that I am making that folks really ought to do before they even think about raising taxes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's wild. You would think it would all go there. You know,
One of the other things that was really very misconstrued in the committee today was the presentation about the polling. And I'll just say we don't need to be making public policy decisions based on polling. But, frankly, we should care what the citizens think.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
It should be a factor in the decision.
Arkansas Good Roads Foundation, they're the ones the government's consulting on this, and they do all these polling. They do polls, and really, in my opinion, it's an effort to kind of get a measure of what they can pass the voters. It's kind of propaganda-y.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Our poll and the Good Roads Foundation poll returned really very similar numbers. And you would think that's crazy because we gave opposite testimony today. And the reason for that is because they just simply cherry-picked their numbers. They didn't present a full picture.
Okay, so how so? Expand on that. Just briefly.
Well, the full picture would be that they asked people a series of questions. One of the questions they asked people was, would you support a gas tax increase of any kind, even a penny? And a majority said they were opposed. Now, they also asked people specifically about a 10-cent per gallon increase, and which is what this proposal would do at a minimum. And only 11% of Arkansans said they would be okay with that. Now, interestingly, Paul, neither of those numbers were presented in committee today. What they presented was a very cherry-picked picture of what the people of Arkansas want. They basically gave people the option. They said, would you rather that your legislature just pass a gas tax hike, or would you rather them refer that out to you so that you could vote on it? Well, shoot, given that choice, I would select refer it out as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's a false choice. The other option is to meet our highway funding needs without raising taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it goes on to the full House. I figure the full House has the best chance to stop this thing. I
don't know about that.
You don't think so?
I think that, honestly, there's going to be a lot of opposition on the Senate side. Maybe not on the Senate committee per se, but in the full Senate, there will be stiff opposition. And I'm not writing off the House either, although, today's committee vote was not as optimistic as I would have liked.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, I think, if they will look back to other folks. I'm just going to go back to last fall. And Bobby Pierce, former Senator Bobby Pierce in South Arkansas, back in 2011, he voted to refer a half-cent sales tax to the voters on highway funding. And Trent Garner, who's the new senator from that district, he made that a centerpiece of his campaign, that his opponent had voted to advance a $1 billion tax hike. Well, guess what? This tax hike is going to be a $2 billion tax hike over 10 years. So if one senator lost his job over that, you can imagine there's going to be a lot of people who really regret this vote down the road.
Yeah, that's why we almost nicknamed Kenny Wallace, who was in there filming for Conduit Media. That's why we almost nicknamed that camera the primary camera today. But anyway, Mr. David Ray, I appreciate it, sir. Americans for Prosperity, Arkansas. Thank you for giving us this information.
Yeah, and I would just add, Paul, folks, if you care about this issue, you need to start lighting up the phone lines of your representatives and letting them know where you stand. Go to our website, americansforprosperity.org, click on the Action Center. Just go to the ArcLedge website and find the number for your representatives.
Yeah, we got to mobilize for sure. David Ray, I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Folks,